Hey everybody, don't know if we have anybody here in the room yet. Just setting up here, getting everything the way it's supposed to be. So hopefully someone will drop in. If there's anybody here kind of watching, I'm a little early. It's about 8:45 Eastern Standard. Start time is supposed to be 9 p.m. So this is my first live webcast. So hopefully people will be in here shortly to join me. Try to shrink this down as much as I can. I don't like the fact that I could see myself so big on the screen. So if anybody's out there, certainly get in the chat and say hello. Again, this is the first time I'm doing this, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. It looks like I got some signal. If anyone can hear me out there, please let me know that the sound check is working. And I'll be constantly glancing at the comments to see who's asking questions, who's chatting, so on and so forth. But we have a little bit of time still, so it's still a little early. Right now it looks like we have 1 viewer, 3 viewers, but I don't see anybody up there in the chat quite yet. If you're out there, guys, if you can hear me okay, if the audio, sorry, bumped the mic there, just let me know. Let me know. Coffee. It's been a long day. I've been working on sessions all day. I'm tired. Don't know how long I'll be here to do this for, but we're going to see how many people show up and see how it goes. While we're waiting, I will bring up some web pages of things I want to show you guys. Some things that I purchased for my studio. I've done a major upgrade, which I'm sure we'll talk about once we get a bunch of folks online. And I want to show you some web pages of some of the new gear I have. I won't be able to demo the gear here live because I wanted to try to keep this as simple as possible for the first webcast. But maybe in the future I will try to rig this up in a way where I can do live demos so you can see and hear the gear and not just see it on the screen. But we'll have to see how that goes. Picture's looking really good on this end. I'm surprised with my cheap little webcam, at least on my end, how clear the picture really is. Hopefully you guys, if there's anybody watching, you guys can actually see a nice clear picture and it looks good. It should be, it's an HD. Getting used to this Google Hangouts. Again, this is my first time doing this, so forgive me if I seem like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, because I really don't know what I'm doing. And if I'm not looking directly into the camera and I'm looking off, I'm looking out the screen, trying to just get some information of things I can show you guys when we're ready. But thus far, I'm the only one that seems to be here, although it says we have 3 viewers. Don't know if those 3 viewers are in the chat. Not sure if you automatically, as soon as you pop on, I'll see you in the chat. I'm not sure how that works. So please forgive me. So if there is people out there, hello, welcome to the live chat, the live webcast. It's about 10 minutes to 9 Eastern Standard Time. We have a few minutes. I sent out a video link a week ago and the Facebook post a little while ago to remind everybody to kind of show up for a while and kind of hang with me. Hopefully people will do that. We will see. Not really sure, but we will see. Hopefully people will check us out and see what we got going on over here. Check, check, check. Should have good audio. Interesting. So it looks like we got 4 viewers. I'm not sure. I can't see who's on. I don't know how accurate that is as far as we have 4 viewers or not. But if you are watching this, if you could jump into the chat, that my chat room is open here, just to let me know that you're here so I know that there's somebody here. We got 5 viewers, 6 viewers now, it looks like. And then we can, we'll jump into this in about 9 or 10 minutes. I just wanted to get up here early and make sure everything was working the way it's supposed to be. Anybody out there? Don't know how many people we'll get tonight. Again, I think about 200 or so people watched the little YouTube promo video I set up for this. So I don't know how many people are actually going to show. We will see. Again, I've never done this before. I've contemplating doing this in the past, but I haven't because I didn't really think anybody would care one way or the other what I have to say or what I got going on. But maybe you do. I don't know. We're going to find out. I thought it would be cool to kind of meet some of the subscribers online. It's not a typical hangout where you can get on and you know, we could see each other on video. I think you could do that through Google, but I'm not sure. Again, I'm really new at this. So we're just going to do this, keep it simple, see what we got going on, and then if this works and it's a wild success, maybe in the future I will do this again. We'll see. And if nobody cares, then I won't do it because why waste the time? Why waste the time? So, is anybody out there, or am I out here all by myself? It's 5 minutes to 9. I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to edit all this stuff. It's going to get directly posted to YouTube, and people are going to see me just standing here talking or sitting here talking to myself. So I got to figure out a way to edit these things before they go live on YouTube. Maybe someone can help me with that if anyone out there is listening. It says we got 4 viewers. Don't know if we do. I don't see anybody in the chat yet. I think I'm the only one here, but I'm not really sure. Let's see if you could see me on my channel. You should be able to see. Yes, if you go to my channel on the home page, it says we're live. So it is up and it is working. That's a good thing. Just pulling up some more web pages of some stuff that I might be able to show you guys. Looks like we have 6 viewers now. But I don't see anyone in the chat, so I'm not sure if I'm going to see a viewer when they pop up. If you're out there, hello. It's about 5 of 9 Eastern Standard. We'll start in a couple of minutes. And I'll go through my spiel here and get it recorded so people can watch this after the fact if they're not able to join us live. Is anybody out there? Or am I here all by myself? Although it says we have 6 viewers. Maybe we have more, I don't know. Let me just, I'll be right back here. Hold on one second. Let some fresh air, fresh air in here. Okay. Getting close to the time, fellas. It's what's it, 3 minutes to 9? I am live on the YouTube page, so people should be able to find. No problem. It looks like we have, according to this Google screen, the 5 viewers. But I'm the only one in the chat room, it looks like. So I don't know how accurate that is. But we will kick this off in a couple of minutes here. Been working on a project all day today. A 14-year-old girl, singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar player, singer. What an amazing talent. This girl has a voice like an angel, writes all her own original music. Amazing, amazing, amazing artist. So that'll be coming out soon. I'll probably be able to share that with you and tell you more about that when it kind of hits. So I've been working on mixing an EP today for her. And tomorrow I have clients all day, and then all day Sunday. So it's a busy week. So I'm hoping this won't be a super long webcast because I got to get to bed. I have to be up tomorrow early to start another session. Okay, it's about 2 minutes to 9. Again, I see we have about 5 viewers, but I don't know if that's really correct or not because I don't see anybody in the chat room, and I don't on the chat side of things here, and I'm not sure if someone actually logs in, if I'll see you in the chat automatically. I don't know how that works. This is my first live webcast, so I'm just learning this. So please be patient and please forgive my ignorance to some of this stuff. I'm really trying to step up my internet stuff, and I'm going to get more involved in this stuff and learn more about it as we move forward. So I will get better at this. I promise. I promise. I promise. I'll wait a few more minutes, see if anybody pops into the chat. I put up a little message, so people should see that. Please, if you see that, respond. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that you can hear my audio and you can see the video okay. It should be, at least on my end. Excuse me, all high def. Looks really good. I'm really surprised with my cheap little Logitech webcam. I'm surprised it looks this good. But I don't know if what you're seeing and I'm seeing are the same things. So you guys will have to let me know. And then we'll run through some of the things I want to just quickly touch on and show you. Some of the stuff I've upgraded and some of the products I purchased from my studio. And then I'll take questions and, you know, we'll just hang. And if anyone has any questions about recording or the business side of home recording or anything at all, if I can help in any way, that's why I'm here. So please ask. I know my good buddy Andy is supposed to be on. He Facebooked me a little earlier. Andy, a PreSonus guy, Studio One user, and I think all things PreSonus. He may be here. So Andy, if you're out there, if you're one of the 4 or 5 viewers I see on the screen, please let me know you're there. Jump into the chat. If you can, let me know that you're there. That would be helpful. Okay, we're about 9 o'clock now, so I think we're going to get started any minute. Again, it says we have 4 viewers. If I would assume that means there's 4 people watching this, but 5 viewers now. Maybe people are just running a couple minutes late. Again, I don't know if you guys can get into the chat room. I'm sure there's a delay with this YouTube thing. About 9. Okay, now I'm starting to see. All right, Andy, I see you now. I've kind of figured this out. I don't know. I'm looking. Don't mind me again. Oh, I have to approve you guys to get into the chat. I'm sorry. Okay, let me do that now, guys. Now I'm figuring this out. Again, I apologize if I look like a bumbling idiot here because it's the first time I've ever used this. So I guess when you guys are on the chat here, I have to approve you to allow you to get into the chat, and that's what I'm doing right now, Andy. And Johnny Clark. So I don't know if that means in a few. Everyone's been approved that has joined. 5 or 6 of you. So you guys should. Hopefully, I'll see you in my chat. I don't know, but I saw the comments on my page, and I don't know if that's how you have to communicate, because I can leave you guys a comment too. Again, being new to this, I have no clue. But anyway, I see there are a few people out there. Now I see Andy out there, Johnny's out there because they left me a comment. DB from Cleveland. Hey, DB, how are you? I think that's it right now. Let me go back and see if I can figure this out. Just so I could try to help you. Okay, so it looks like... Okay, so I see Johnny left a comment. All's good. Johnny, good. Just trying to see if I can... Andy, where's the chat page again? I approved everybody. So it could be that you guys will show up on my chat screen here in a minute. If not, you guys can continue to leave comments because I'm looking at my home page on YouTube. So I might be able to see the comments as we go along. Hopefully that'll That'll work. Let me see. Okay, so if I just sent a little comment testing on the home page there. Can everybody see that, or anybody can see that? Just let me know, just so I know that I can communicate with you guys via typing as well. Oops, bumping the mic here. Okay, DB, thanks. You said got me loud and clear. I see. Okay, I see. Okay, I got to go through and approve all these ridiculous comments. That would be silly if I always had to do that. Boy, that's strange. Okay, nevertheless, I can work this out, guys, one way or the other. I just sent a comment that said testing. Did you guys see that? DB or John or Andy, did you see that? Just let me know. And again, I could keep refreshing the screen and looking to see that I can see your comments. Okay, you got it. Okay. I have to keep refreshing the screen. That's kind of strange, but nevertheless, anyway, let's get started, and I'll keep glancing over at the screen and trying to communicate with you guys. Again, please be patient. I'm still working out the bugs. I've never done this before, so if you could see me and you can hear what I'm saying, that's great. Type a comment if you got anything, and I'll try to periodically jump over there and answer some questions. So, again, thanks everyone for joining me for our first live webcast. This is an experience. So what I wanted to do, and the thought was, I wanted to kind of try to get online with, you know, some of the subscribers that have subscribed to my channel. I think we're up to about 3,200 and some odd subscribers, which is great. We're getting new subscribers every day, which is awesome. I'm glad the videos are helping, and I'm getting lots of comments from people thanking me for the videos and asking questions and sending me emails, and it's all good. I really enjoy it. I'm glad it's helping. I certainly don't, you know, proclaim to be the you know, the smartest guy when it comes to recording and engineering and mixing and mastering, but I make a living at this full time, and I think I know a little bit about the stuff, and I've been doing it a while, and I like teaching people. There were some real nice people to help me along the way, and so I guess I wanted to be able to help and give back to people. To me, that's all. That's what this is all about. So I'm glad that everybody's kind of enjoying it. So let me just take a look at these comments again real quick. Make sure everybody's cool. Everyone's got. Okay. Yes, Andy, I could see you typed back. Again, it looks like I have to approve all the comments as we're going forward, which is no problem. I'm not sure why I can't see you guys chatting in real time. I'm not sure about that. But okay, now it seems to be doing it. Where's the chat page? That's a good question. Yes, the comments are waiting approval. So let's just see. Not sure, but it looks like I'm getting your comments. I can see what you guys are writing, and I'll try to answer the questions as we go. So anyway, again, thanks for coming. And before we jump into it, I guess we're just some things, you know, people ask me all the time. They send me emails about, you know, what products I use. Can I do a studio tour? What kind of gear do I use? I've talked a little bit about some of the plugins and things I use in the videos, but I get asked a lot about doing a studio tour. And the reason why I haven't really done one yet is I've been just finishing up a major upgrade, and I've changed out a lot of gear. I've upgraded some stuff. I've bought some new stuff. I've bought some new, you know, plugins. I've bought hardware. I'm still using Studio One as my primary DAW. Love Studio One. I wouldn't switch, although I do use Pro Tools 11 on occasion for when I have to use it for client projects, and I struggle with it, but I use it. But Studio One is my preference, without a doubt. So I wanted to. So the reason why I haven't done the studio tour is I just finished getting everything together. So now I'm considering doing and posting a video on a studio tour. But I wanted to think about how I wanted to film it, and just didn't want to walk around with an iPhone or a webcam and put up something that looked kind of shoddy. I wanted to put something up that looked good. So I'm working through that. We'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. But I wanted to at least get on here and while I'm hanging out with you guys, and maybe show you some of the new gear that I have and why I picked some of the gear that I picked. And I can't demo it for you live because in rewiring my whole interface system, and I haven't been able to figure out how to get all the different audio routed to all the different programs. So I'm not prepared to be able to demo stuff for you today, but I will. I'm going to create YouTube videos demoing the product. But today I wanted to show you some web pages. I think I can share my screen with you guys to show you some stuff and talk a little bit about some of the stuff I bought, why I bought it, and that kind of stuff. So let me just refresh this. Yes, I know, DB, I have to approve each comment, and I'm doing that now. Go figure. The dumbest thing I've ever seen. There's got to be a better way to do this, but nevertheless, we'll struggle through it, guys. I promise I will figure this out. As long as you can hear me okay and you can see me okay, and my audio's loud and clear and it's not distorting on you, that's really what I care about right now. So if someone could just let me know that is the case, that would be most wonderful. And that'll be good. Okay. So anyhow, let me take you to the first. I know I can share a screen with you. Let's see. So these comments just keep doubling up and tripling up. I'm really not sure. Not really sure why. But nevertheless, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good, guys. Yeah, someone's asking, can you ask a question? Sure. If I approve these comments, and I will, I'll keep refreshing the screen and approving the comments. If you want to ask a question, go right ahead, ask a question. I'll glance over at it and I'll try to answer it for you. But let me try to share the screen first, and let me see if you guys can actually see this. You should be able to. So let me see if I can do this. If I can pull this up and share the screen with you for a second. Okay, so hopefully you guys could see this. I'm hoping. This is a new guitar. I'm about to go into the studio to record a rock record. And again, you might not be able to see my video right now. You probably can't because I am sharing a screen with you, but you should be able to hear what's going on. But I'm about to finish up a client project and start writing a new original rock record for myself. Primarily music for publishing for television and film, music licensing. And I wanted to upgrade my my guitar rig, and I did so. And the first product I bought here is a product by a company called Riviera called the Rock Crusher Recorder. And what the Rock Crusher is, it is a power attenuator and also a speaker simulator. And it's a little pricey. It's it's $800 as you can see. But what it does, and maybe what I can do is I have it handy. I can pull it aside here so you guys can actually see it. Let me try to give you a live video of it so you guys can actually see the Riviera Rock Crusher, the Rock Crusher recording. Okay, so I'm sure glad the audio is working good. Great. Let me pull aside this this unit here. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, what I just showed you on the screen, if you guys didn't see it, I'll try to get this in the camera for you. This is the Riviera Rock, forgive the glare of the monitor, the Rock Crusher recording. Steel chassis, built like a tank. Thing almost weighs the size of a head. And what this is, it's a power attenuator and also as well as a speaker simulator. And what this allows you to do is to take, and let me hold this down for a minute, take a tube amp, or any amp for that matter, but if you're I'm a tube amp guy, and it allows you to be able to crank a tube amp without having to mic a 412. You could do it one of two ways. You have a power attenuator section which allows you to plug in a 212, 112, 412 cabinet and be able to crank the amp up to really drive the amp, but then attenuate the sound going to the cabinet, so you can lower the volume, so you can play at more studio levels and you can play at more bedroom levels, and not worry about blasting out the neighbors, blasting out the wife and the kids, or husband and the kids upstairs in the rest of your home. So that's really cool. So what you have here, I can hold this up, it's kind of heavy, the thing weighs probably 15 pounds. You have and it's also selectable impedance, so you can use it with a 16 or an 8 ohm cabinet, which is one of the only power attenuators on the market I've seen that you can use. You can variable the ohms. Usually you have to buy a 16 ohm unit or an 8 ohm unit. This you can do either or, which is nice. So if you have two different types of cabinets, two different impedances, you can use the same unit. And then you have this heavy duty attenuator, which allows you to reduce the power from I think up to 30 dB, which is great. So you would plug this between your guitar and your cabinet, and then what you would do is you would use this switch to dial down the volume. So you can still mic up your speaker cabinet, and you can crank up the amp to really drive the tubes in the amp, but then you can lower the output going to the speaker, which is really cool. So that's one section of this unit, okay? And then on the other section where this graphic equalizer is, that is a speaker simulator. And what this company has done is they have modeled different guitar speakers, you know, old Celestians, the stuff that you see in the Marshall cabinets, and the different types of, you know, more popular, you know, 212, 412 speakers cabinets, and modeled all the most popular speakers. And the graphic equalizer is an 11-band graphic equalizer, which the frequencies were specifically chosen that are more guitar speaker oriented. So you're not going to see, you know, a high 16K air band or something real low in 20, 30 hertz. It's very, the frequencies were chosen for a specific reason. And what's great is you can model these different speaker cabinets. So you don't need to even plug in a cabinet. You would go right from your guitar, out of the guitar amp, out of the speaker out of your guitar amp, to the input of this unit, out to your interface, right into your DAW, and you can record, and you can record an amp, again, cranked up the amp to drive the tubes at low volume levels, and then simulate the different speaker cabinets, which is great. So you can do this, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning and nobody's going to hear you. And they supply, as part of the user manual and on their website, different EQ curves for different types of speakers that they've emulated. And I got to tell you, it's pretty damn close. I mean, it sounds just like, you know, a Marshall 412 cabinet or a Boogie 412 cabinet. I was blown away by how good this actually sounds. It sounds like the real thing. It's not a cheap plug-in type of a thing where it simulates guitar cabinets, and that never really sounds right. It always sounds kind of plasticky to me. So I didn't want to use software. I have the Avid 11 rack, which people may know, which is a modeler, which is probably one of the closest modelers I've ever heard. But again, it's always sounded a little thin. Didn't always sound like the real thing. So you know, I have a couple of tube heads. I have a Marshall and I have a new Eddie Van Halen 5153, and those amps sound amazing. And so I wanted to be able to capture that without having to mic up a 412 cabinet, put 2 or 3 mics on it to get different types of tones to blend together, worry about cranking the amp and blasting out the, you know, the neighbors and blasting out the family upstairs. So this was a great solution. Again, it's on. You go to sweetwater.com and check it out. I'll pull up the screen again, but it's the Rock Crusher recording. It's a power attenuator as well as a speaker simulator. So you can either mic a cabinet and turn down the volume and still get that nice amp-driven saturation type sound, or you can use it as a speaker simulator where you don't need to use a cabinet. You could still crank the amp and play it at low bedroom volume. So this is a great unit that I just picked up, and I've been using it for about a week. Finishing up writing some of the tunes for the next CD, and it sounds amazing. So if you're looking for something, you know, some kind of a solution to be able to record a tube amp at home, low volume levels, this is a great solution. Again, it's pricey. It's $800 brand new. But again, the thing weighs about 15 pounds. I mean, it's hard for me to even hold it here. It's built like a tank. It's completely analog. It sounds amazing. So it's an investment. But, you know, This is great too for clients. Clients come in, I don't have to bring a 412 cabinet in here anymore. They can just go direct into this. And what's great about this is if you're going to double or say triple, track guitars, quadruple track guitars, you can use, a couple of different EQ curves to simulate different speakers. So in other words, they have the an EQ curve that simulates the old vintage 30 Celestions. So say you're going to play a rhythm track on the, first track would be, say, a vintage 30 simulated cabinet. And then they have, the old GT75, the old Marshall speakers and the old Marshall cabinets, which sound completely different than the V30s, completely different, or the greenbacks. So you can do one on one side, pan it hard left, record the same part with a different EQ curve, pan it hard right. So now you get those different textures that blend together, which sound amazing. So that's another, a really good way to do this. And again, not having to use a cabinet. So that is the Rock Crusher. Let me just slide this over. And then, as I mentioned, I use a Marshall JCM 800 from the mid-'80s, and I also use a EVH Eddie Van Halen 5153 tube head as well as my two main guitar heads, going into the Rock Crusher directly into Studio One through my interfaces. Let me just refresh the comments here, make sure. Let me approve some of these comments, guys. Sorry if I'm falling a little bit behind. Yeah, no money to. I hear you. Amith, no money to buy analog stuff like this. No, I hear you. This is not for everybody. I know some of this stuff gets pricey. Again, it's not something that you absolutely have to have to record good guitar tones. There's other ways to do it. You can just, mic up your regular amp. You can use plugins. There's ways to do it. And just showing you stuff that, that I kind of have gotten into, just to kind of, give you some information, and maybe down the road you'll have some dough and you'll want to maybe, try something different. That's just one option for you. Speaking of interfaces, a lot of you that followed my videos early on YouTube would know I used to use the Studio Live by PreSonus as my main interface. I no longer use that. I still have the Studio Live. As a matter of fact, I'm using that to patch my voice into this live stream here. But for my recording interfaces, I'm using now the Focusrite Focusrite Sapphire Pro 40s. I have two of them that are daisy chained together. They're 8 channels apiece, so I have 16 total inputs. And the reason why I got away from the Studio Live, not because I didn't like the Studio Live was great, but the one thing that the Studio Live did not allow me to do in the studio, as in a control room environment setup, was take direct outputs and use them in conjunction with my new summing devices, which I'll talk about in a second, the dangerous music stuff. And so although the Studio Live does have the DB25 output connectors, I tried that, and for some reason I wasn't able to take the direct outputs from Studio One via the Studio Live into my dangerous music gear. I was having a hell of a time with it. And so I wanted to get something a little more simple, not to mention the Studio Live took up a massive amount of space on my workstation, and I was only using the Studio Live primarily for just the inputs. I really wasn't mixing with the Studio Live. I was mixing everything in the box, and I was using the auxes for my headphone outputs, but it was kind of overkill. I originally bought the Studio Live because I play live, and I would take it out and use it in a club, and it's an amazing mixer, and I'll always use it for that, for remote stuff. But for in the studio stuff, I really didn't need it as much, and I was having a hard time with the direct out, so I went to the Focusrite stuff. And I got to say, I really like them. The Sapphire Pro 40, really nice, clean preamps. Focusrite is known for their really clean, high-quality preamps, and they sound great. And so that's what I'm using now, as opposed to the Studio Live. And then from there, I'm going into the dangerous music stuff for my summing, my analog summing. Let me just approve these. Yeah, Andy, I see that. You would like to see a video on sidechain compression. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. That's a good a good suggestion. But getting back to, so now I'm using the next big upgrade that I've done here. And there's debates, and I don't want to get into a debate here on whether analog summing really makes a difference. Can you hear the difference? Does it really matter in your mixing or not? You could go on Gear Sluts or any one of these forums, and you'll get 50% of the people will say analog summing is the way to go, and people will say, the other 50% will say it is a complete and utter waste of money and time. I was one of those people that thought it really was more hype than really what it was worth until I went to a friend's studio and actually listened to this, an AB listened to this these two pieces of equipment. And the two pieces of equipment are the Dangerous Music D-Box, which I can pull up on the screen for you in a second, in conjunction with the Dangerous Music 2-Bus LT. And they're analog summing boxes. And basically, the D-Box, which I can pull up on the screen for you guys here so you can see what it looks like, if you have not seen it. Okay, let me, Dangerous Music. Oops. Okay, let me share this screen with you guys and kind of explain. Okay, so here's the Dangerous D-Box. Hopefully you guys can see that and it doesn't look too small. But if you go to dangerousmusic.com and check it out, basically the D-Box has an analog AD converter inside, and it's also kind of a control station for your studio. It has 4 input selectors for 4 different devices, your DAW, an analog. You can hook up a CD player to it. So any source that you're listening to through your studio monitors is all going through the same AD converters, which is helpful. It allows you to hook up 2 pairs of speakers, so you can have your main monitors along with, I have a boombox hooked up that you can just toggle back and forth between the 2 sources, so you can hear the difference in your mixing between 2 sources. Has a mono button to sum your mix to mono, which I'm a huge proponent of. You should always check your mixes in mono or mix in mono. I do most of my mixing in mono. And then a talkback section with 2 high-quality headphone outputs on it for one for your artist, which is great. So the D-Box is really kind of an all-in-one solution, and it also has 8 channels of analog summing. So I paired that with the 2-Bus LT, which is right here. The 2-Bus LT is just another additional, well, it's an additional 16 channels of summing. So it really takes the 8 channels that you have in the D-Box of summing, and it's a 16-channel summing device. So because I have 16 discrete outputs on my Focusrite units, the Sapphire Pro 40s, I could go into my 2-Bus LT, this unit here, and I get 16 channels of summing. And what that does is that it, for me, and again, people will argue this stuff all day long on whether this stuff is, really worth it or does it really make a difference? Is it worth the investment? Again, this stuff is not the most inexpensive stuff in the world. These things are, I think the D-Box is $1,300. The 2-Bus LT is like $1,300 or $1,400. So it's not the cheapest thing in the world. Let me just get off the screen share here for a second. Hopefully you guys were able to see that okay. Let me just approve these. Approve. Yes, mixing in mono does work. So what the summing really does is it passes your audio out of your DAW, and again, you can use any DAW. I use Studio One, but you can use any DAW. So basically what you're doing is you're coming in the conventional way of just mixing in the box without analog summing is that you have your individual tracks in your DAW. Let's say you have a drum kit. Let's just say a drum kit, a guitar, a bass, and a vocal. 5 mics on the drum kit, mic on the bass, mic on the vocal, mic on the guitar. Those tracks, if you can visualize this, because I don't have the screen in front of me, will go down to your master out, right? It sums all those tracks and delivers you a 2-channel stereo left and right mix. So it sums those tracks into a mix on your master bus. What this new setup does with analog summing is the DAW doesn't do the summing anymore. What happens is you take those tracks, let's say kick, snare, tom, overheads, kick on track 1, snare on track 2. Out of the interface goes output, kick output, output track 1 goes into input 1 on the 2-bus LT. And it does the summing for you. So you send all your instruments out the DAW into the summing device, the 2-bus LT, sums the audio, and it brings it back into the DAW already summed, and it passes it through all its analog circuitry. And what that does is it's a different type of a sound, it's a different type of a tone. It's, to me, and again, I heard this, I didn't believe it till I actually sat in somebody's studio and listened to the difference. It opens up the mix, it opens up the sound, and there's a lot more clarity, a lot more, all I can describe it as is an open sound. There's an absolute difference when you sum outside of the box, outside of the DAW versus inside the DAW. Again, do you need to have it? No, you don't need to have it. If you watch any of my videos, especially the one with Johnny Guy back 6 or 8 months ago where I talk about mixing with stock plugins, you can get a professional sounding recording with just the stock stuff. You don't need any of the things that I'm mentioning to you. As you start to get better at the craft and you want to upgrade, these are some of the things that people do. And I'm just sharing with you what I do. There is a difference when you sum it in the analog domain. It gives you a better representation of what's going on in the mix and allows you to make better decisions in your mixing, which in turn turns out a better product. So the reason why I switched my interfaces was because I needed those discrete outputs to go into the summing devices, the dangerous music stuff, and it works really well. And I'm really enjoying. I'm still getting used to it. Sorry, I'm bumping the mic. Just still getting used to it, but I really do like it, and it does work, and there is a difference. And if you've never tried it, or if you have an opportunity to check out someone's studio who has a setup like this with analog summing, I recommend that you at least give it a listen, because you would be amazed by how much better your mixes will sound when you really hear everything that's going on in the mix, and it just is, you know, a world of difference to me. So anyways, that was the other upgrades that I've done to the studio in the hardware stuff. So I'm still getting used to all this new gear, and I'm still getting used to using Skype and live stream and all this other stuff to get everything to play nice together. And if anybody knows, when you start switching all your gear around and trying to patch everything together, it doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. So it's taken me weeks and weeks to get all this garbage hooked up, but it's finally, I think, starting to work. So let me review these comments here, see if anybody has any questions. Okay, there's a couple of questions here. Let me see if I can. Again, I just don't want to ramble on and bore anybody here. I want to be here for you, and I want to try to help you guys. So, okay, somebody's asking about, okay, some people insert EQ after compression, and some people do EQ before compression. Are there any differences? Sorry for your English. Don't be sorry. Sorry for my English. It's my first language, and I could barely speak it. You're doing great. Let's see. So, okay, let me see if I can. Okay, yes. Again, one of the things that you probably heard a million people say, and I'll say it too, there really are no rules when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to mixing, mastering, recording techniques, there's no rules. There's a bunch of guidelines. One of those things is about EQ and compression. Do you put EQ before a compressor? Do you put it after? What's the difference? Is there a difference? There is, and depending on what you're going for and the instrument that you're talking about mixing, you may choose one or the other. I typically put EQ before compression because I'm typically an EQ cutter, not a booster, and I like to shape the sound before I compress it and squash it. To me, it just sounds better. It's just the way that I've always, you know, kind of grew up in the game and how to mix. It's what I've always done. It works for me. I have tried compression before EQ. And what I find is when I'm using compression before EQ, because the nature of a compressor is to take the peaks and the valleys and to squish them together, right? So what ends up happening is those frequencies that you don't want tend to get a lot louder and you end up doing a lot more cutting. But then other people will say they like to shape the overall tone and the overall sound before they start EQing. So I use an EQ before, and I've just had good success with it. But again, there's no rules. You can do it however you want. It's completely up to you. Excuse me here, why? It's been a long day, so it's coffee, by the way. If anybody wants to know. I've been up 14 hours mixing today, so I need some coffee. Anyhow, so yeah, so I use EQ before compression. Good question, though. Let me see if anybody else has any questions. Not yet. Okay, cool. Everyone can still hear me okay? Everything's sound good out there, look good out there? Video's looking okay on my cheesy little webcam? Oh, you do both, Andy. You're talking about EQ before or after compression. Yeah, you could do both. Again, I guess it depends on what you're mixing and depends how the tracks were recorded. There's a lot of variables to it. And I would suggest that you try both. Experiment. Don't get locked into any one way. Anything that I teach on my YouTube channel is just the way I do things. It is certainly not the end-all, be-all, or be-all, end-all to mixing, for sure. For every one person that uses an EQ before a compressor, you'll find another person that uses a compressor before an EQ. Whatever sounds good, but there is no wrong way, or one way or a wrong way to do this. Let's see, Johnny Clark, what do you use as a primary vocal mic? I use an SM7. You're talking about this one, right, Johnny? Yes. I use this mic, and I've done a video on getting a professional vocal sound, and I talked about microphones. This is one of them that I do use. I tend to use this without the windscreen. I pull the windscreen off, and I tend to use this when I'm doing male vocals, rock heavy vocals especially. Reason being, this thing could take a hell of a lot of SPL. You could really drive this thing and not have to worry about clipping the capsule. And it just sounds good on rock vocals to me. I also use, for female vocalists or softer type music, I use a Lawton Audio F435, I think it's called. Don't remember. Go back and check out the video. It's in there. Wonderful vocal mic, especially on female vocals. Very smooth, very airy, with not the harshness or the brittleness to it. I run that through a 500 series Rupert Neve 511, I think it is. Yeah, 511 compressor into 511 preamp into an inward connections Brute compressor, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's a new compressor that I bought. It's a very LA2A style, beautiful compressor. Can hit it really hard, doesn't sound compressed, really does well on vocals. So those are the vocal mics that I use for the most part. And I've even used an SM57 on male vocals before. Prior to getting to this, I used an SM57. This mic is also awesome on guitar cabinets if you guys don't know that. Try that. Good question. What other question you guys got? Yeah, I see, Andy. You want to see a video on side chain compression. I will do a video on that. I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of that, but I do at times. Again, it depends on what the track calls for and what I'm working on. But I will do a video for that. I promise. It is on my list of things to do. Let me just refresh one more time. There's no other questions. I'll move on. Oh, how do I like the AKG 414? I used to have one and I sold it. Not because I didn't like it, because it was very similar to me to another vocal mic that I was using at the time. I still have it, and the name escapes me. I use a Mojave Audio MA200, which is a tube microphone, but it wasn't that. There was another mic I have. I forget what it is. And it sounded very similar, and it was just redundancy. And the AKG 414 was about $1,000, I think, that mic. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. And I just didn't need it. It was like, you know, having the exact same thing. So I sold it and bought something else. But it was a good mic, and I know people that use it for room mics for drums as well. But for vocals, I thought it was good, but it was similar to what I was already using, so I sold it. But I did like it. It was a good mic. Let me approve these comments. Any thoughts on Universal Audio Apollo? Okay, a couple more questions here. Let's see. DB, any thoughts on Universal Audio Apollo Twin Solo? Yes, I don't have the Apollo, but as you know, and I'm going to show you some in a few minutes on the screen share here, I'm a huge Universal Audio fan. I use a lot of their plugins. 80% of the plugins that I mix with is Universal Audio. Why? Because they emulate that vintage gear better than anybody in the business as far as I'm concerned. And so if you're looking for an interface and you need a 4-channel interface, the Apollo is a wonderful, wonderful piece of equipment, because not only do you get really high quality preamps, a 4-channel pre, but you also get the universal audio card with all the plugins inside the box. So you can track with the universal audio plugins as well as mix. That is a phenomenal deal. I think they make a twin and a quad, or solo and a quad. I forget what they call it. DB, you might be able to help me with that. You know, depends on your budget. I would say buy the quad if you can, because you get more horsepower with the plugins, but it's wonderful. The only reason why I didn't use I considered the Apollos before I went to my Focusrites. The Focusrites are a hell of a lot less money, first of all. The only reason why I didn't go with the Apollos is because they're only 4 channels, and I need 16 channels in my studio, and I think they're around $1,300 a piece or something like that, and you were talking about $5,000–6,000 to replace 16 channels of input, which I just couldn't justify that. The Focusrites are fine for 99% of what I do. Those preamps work great. For my vocal chain, I'm not using the Focusrite. I'm using my 500 series hardware, as I talked about earlier, so I'm not using the Focusrite for that. But the Apollo stuff is fantastic. I would highly recommend that. If you're looking for an interface and you want to get into the universal audio world, it's a great solution. I would check it out. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. Some people say don't use loops because it's a rhythm. Or of other who made. What do you think about? I'm not really sure about the question. I think that's Amith. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm having a hard time seeing the screen. Something about loops. I'm not sure what your question is. Are you talking about drum loops? Don't use drum loops. See if you can clarify that for me before I answer, because I don't want to take you down the wrong path and then you say that's not what I was asking you. But I saw that comment. But ask me if you could clarify what you're talking about with loops. I'll see if I can help. While we're doing that, let me jump over to another screen share, and let me see if I can pull up. What's going on with my mouse here? I showed you the dangerous music stuff, right? Yep, I showed you that. Oh, let me show you the new amp I bought, the PV5150. Not that you guys really care about that looking at it, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Here, check it out. So this is my recent purchase. I bought a 50 watt, the 50 watt version of the 5153. Really nice amp. Really nice amp. I wanted something that was a little bit more modern sounding, might be the wrong word, but a little bit more modern sounding than the JCM 800 that I have. Again, to give me different, different texture, different tonal possibilities. Really nice, 50 watts. I use this with the Riviera Rock Crusher, and I've also used this on a 412 cabinet. Sounds amazing. And I just picked this up not too long ago, and it's a great amp. If you're looking for a great tube amp, it's 50 watts. It's not 100 watts, so it's a little bit lower power, but it sounds all as good as the 100 watt version for sure. So I checked. I got that in the studio now. And let's talk about Universal Audio while we're here, and then I'll jump back to the comments. This is their plugin store, and if you want, DB, I think you asked about the Apollo. You can go on their website, Universal Audio, or it's uaudio.com, and check out the Apollo stuff in their videos. But this is a brand new plugin I just started using. This is the Dangerous Music Bax EQ, now in a plugin, and ironically, I was considering buying a Master Bus hardware unit, this exact unit in the hardware version, for the stereo mixes. So the concept being on my output, my stereo out, to put this EQ on there to kind of brighten up the mix a little bit. It's a wonderful mastering EQ and a Master Bus EQ. And I was just about to pull the trigger, and Universal Audio released this as a plugin. I couldn't believe it, for $249. So I picked this up. And if you have a Universal Audio card, you could demo this for 14 days. I'd say you put this on your 2-bus and just pick even one of the presets, and it just tightens up the mix, it brightens up the mix, it just gives that nice, finished, polished sweetening sound to a mix that, and it's so subtle. It's supposed to be subtle. It's not one of these things where it's not like a normal EQ where you're going in and boosting and cutting. It really does real gentle EQ curves, and it's just a wonderful plugin. So I highly recommend this if you're into universal audio. And you want to check out some new plugins. This is something I just started using, and I'm so glad that they came out with the plugin unit, because like I said, I was going to buy the hardware unit. So that's the Universal Audio Bax EQ. Check that out. We already talked about the Dangerous Music D-Box. Another plugin. Oh, here's a new piece of hardware I mentioned a few minutes ago. I picked up a new 500 series compressor. Last time I did my vocal recording video, I talked to you about a compressor was called by Grace Designs, and I sold that and bought this. And the reason why I sold that was because although it was a great compressor, it was a very transparent compressor. It really didn't add any color to the vocal chain. And I really wanted something that was more of an LA2A style that added a little bit of vintage color, a little bit of, vintage warm, silky, creamy kind of a thing. And the Grace Design was a very transparent compressor, just not what I needed. And I picked this up at Vintage King Audio. I bought it used at Vintage King for, I think, $750. Then the new price is $850. Again, if you're into 500 series type modules, analog equipment, this is a nice compressor. You can see if I can blow this up. There's a big picture of it. It's got two buttons on it. It's got an output level, makeup gain, and a gain reduction, just like an LA2A. You crank up the gain reduction, you watch the UV meter, and then you compensate with the output level. And it works really, really well on vocals. And if you read the product description, it's really made for vocals. Although I've put bass guitars, acoustic guitars through this, it sounds amazing. Again, a little bit pricey, $850, but if you're looking to get into some analog hardware, this is something that I would recommend. My studio now, which used to be all completely digital in the box, is now really a hybrid studio. It's some analog along with some digital, and so this is just another thing that I picked up. Again, made by Inward Connections. It's called The Brute. You can search them out online. Vintage King is really cool. They have free shipping. All their stuff has extended warranties, and they have free tech support. Again, $850 for a 500 series compressor. Probably right in the mid-price range, not too pricey, not too inexpensive. But again, if you're looking for a great vocal chain, analog vocal chain, if you do a lot of vocal recording, the Rupert Neve 500 series preamp along with this compressor with a good vocal mic into any interface is going to sound amazing if you got a good singer. So just another piece of gear to show you. Let me see if we have any more. Here's the Riviera, the Rock Crusher, which we kind of looked at a few seconds ago. I can close this down on us. So let's take a look at what we got here for comments or questions. Okay, let's see. Andy got a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. Nice. I'm jealous. How come I don't have one of those? That's a great amp, by the way. The 5150 is pretty along those lines, Andy. The 5150 is along that kind of sound. That was kind of the sound I was going for. The Mesa Boogie's a great amp, though. I've played a few in studios in my past, but I've never owned one. But that's a rockin' amp for sure. Let's see. Okay, on loops. A myth. Oh, yeah, you mean loops like drum loops, piano. Okay, so your question was around what do I think about using loops? I don't think there's anything wrong with using loops. For drums, I used to use a program for drum loops, for example. I used to use a loops made by a company called Drums on Demand, which is still around, drumsondemand.com. which are all high-quality, professional recorded drum loops and multi-million-dollar studios by some of the best drummers in the world that you can cut and paste and create your own drum loops. And it's not like a cheap MIDI instrument because they're real drums. I don't use that any longer because now I use the Steven Slate drums with all the grooves, and also the Superior drummer by Tune Tracks. I like the Steven Slate stuff better for rock. I like the Superior drummer, or excuse me, the Easy drummer, the Tune Tracks Easy drummer for more lighter music. But for rock stuff, I like the or metal, I like the Steven Slate stuff. And again, that was all recorded in multi-million-dollar studios, and they're all MIDI grooves that you can adjust and stuff. So I use it all the time. I also use for piano and keyboards, I use TuneTrack's Easy Keys. I could play a little bit of piano, but I am not a piano player by any means. So I used Easy Keys, and that's all MIDI loops. And it works great. I mean, I think it's great. If you get good quality stuff and you know how to manipulate the loops and how to put them together so they don't sound fake. And I might do a video on how to do that. There's a lot of ways you can make loops and stuff not sound so like loops, even though they're, you know, some people, sometimes when you just use the stuff that's pre-canned in the programs, and you patch them all together, it starts to sound too repetitive like a drum machine. So there's ways to kind of get around that so it sounds more like like someone really played it live in the room. But anyway, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I do it all the time. If you're a one-man band like I am, and I'm a guitar player and a bass player, I'm not really a piano player and I'm not a drummer. I can play both of those instruments, but not at a pro level. I could do enough to do a demo, but I'm not a pro drummer, and I'm certainly not a pro piano player. But I use, you know, loops and software and stuff to get around that. So nothing wrong with that. I would say go for it, man. Yeah, Andy, I agree. There's got to be a better way to leave comments. If you could figure it out, let me know. Again, this is my first time, guys. I hope this is somewhat helpful. I'm going to get better at this. I promise. If we do more of these, hopefully we will do more. So before I show you some more gear, one of the things I wanted to ask, maybe a couple of questions, or one thing I wanted to ask and get your guys' thoughts on. One of the things that I've been considering doing, and I haven't pulled the trigger yet to do it because I know it's going to take me a good amount of time to produce this stuff for you guys, is as I mentioned, I'm just about to embark on a 6 to 10 song collection of rock songs for licensing for television and film purposes. And I got some basic ideas, but I haven't started recording or really started finishing writing the songs. And now with the new studio setup, I considered doing a whole documentary on that, maybe taking one or two of the songs from scratch, watching, you know, showing you how I come up with the parts, how I write the music, how I record the music, all the different gear, then getting into the mixing, the mastering, from cradle, from big start to finish. And I consider doing that, and I was about to you know, pick up possibly a new high definition camcorder so I could do everything in HD and edit it all together and make it really nice. The reason why I haven't, I just don't know if there's a real need for that, or if people really want to see that. It would be an enormous amount of work for me, and some cost as well. But I think it might be something that I can continue to develop more products like that or more videos like that down the road if it helps you guys. So that's one thing I wanted to ask you guys and throw it out there. Would you guys find that useful? Again, I struggle sometimes with what content to create, because if you go on YouTube, there's millions of videos for, you know, that talk about the same things over and over and over and over again. And I just don't want to be redundant and put stuff out there that people just kind of breeze by and go, you know, I've already saw that video 500 times by 4 or 5 other people, because it does take an enormous amount of time to put these things together, and I only want to do it if it's going to be helpful. So would that be something? The question is, would you guys be interested in seeing a full-on documentary, different sets of videos on writing, recording, and all the techniques involved with that, mixing and mastering this next group of songs, this EP that I'm writing, which eventually will be music that will be licensed and will be used in television and film? If that's something you guys would really be into, let me know, because that's something I'm considering. I've been considering it for a while. And if it's something you guys are interested in, certainly shoot a comment up there. Let me know. Send me an email. Let me know what you guys think. And if it's something everybody wants me to do, I will do it. You know, I would probably just put it up on YouTube for free. One of the things that I get, you know, people ask me all the time, you know, you should be charging for this stuff that you're putting on YouTube, and you know, I don't do that. As you guys know, I don't I don't. My YouTube channel is not a vehicle for you guys to go to my website and buy products. If you go to my website, you'll see I don't have any products for sale. Go to visionrecordingstudios.com. I don't have a single product for sale. I have mixing and mastering services that you guys people can hire me for, but my YouTube channel was not created to use it as a way to get people to spend money with me. It really was a way to just give back and to help people because people have helped me over the years. And I like to teach and I like to share knowledge. And if I can help someone, that's great. Where a lot of other YouTube channels, and I watch a lot of them, and I don't have any bad things to say about anybody's channel. A lot of guys out there to do stuff a lot better than I do. But they're always, a lot of those guys put up these 2 and 3 minute little teaser videos because they really want you to go over to their website and buy all their products, or go to their new Patreon site and give them money. And I guess, if that's, if they want to be paid for their time and their content, and I get it. But I'm not doing that. So anything that I do will probably be for free. Unless it was such a major production that it was going to cost me, a good amount of money to put something together, and it was more than just my time, but actual cost, then maybe at one point, if there was a product that was in high demand, I may charge enough just to cover my cost, but that would be it. I'm not on YouTube to make money. This is not a money-making endeavor for me, believe me. It's not even close. So anything that I produce will probably be just stuck up on YouTube and be for free. Again, unless it was something that I just cost me too much to put together, and I would have to at least recoup the cost, not to make a profit, but to at least recoup the cost and then give it away. But other than that, it's all going to be for free. But people ask me about that all the time. Why don't I sell the stuff? And it's only because I don't want to be like everybody else. I'm not here to try to sell you something. If you want me to work on your music and mix and master your stuff, you can go to my website and check it out. But I don't advertise that. It's out there if you want it, but that's not why I'm here on YouTube. So let me see what other comments or questions we might have. We get a lot of, let's see. Let me just approve all these. And I promise I will figure this out for the next time, guys, how we can get in a live chat together. I'll research it. I'll figure it out. Oh, no problem. Someone's thanking me for replying to all the messages. No problem. I'm trying to keep up with this the best I can. But also, too, I tell people all the time, it's one of the frustrating things I find about YouTube and watching other people is I've tried to send other, YouTube people that create content messages asking questions, and I rarely ever hear back from any of those people. If you send me an email or a comment on my YouTube page, if you don't already know, I answer every single one of them. Sometimes it takes me a day or two to get back to you because I am extremely busy with clients, but I answer every single email. I don't answer every single comment, but a lot of times I just thank you for the comments so you know that I'm actually reading the comments. I do read them. I approve all the comments before they get posted. I don't think there's only been 1 or 2 comments out of all the people that I didn't allow on because, you get a couple of people that'll just say nasty things because people need to do that, and I'm not going to put that on my page. But if people want to disagree or have a spirited debate about techniques or gear or some of the stuff in my videos, I don't ever hold those back. I want the world to see them. It's an open dialogue. But I do respond to them, so you're welcome. I am here. I'm not just throwing up content and then you can't get a hold of me. If you need me, I'm here. Maybe not as quickly as you'd always like because I do run a business, but I will get back to you, I promise. So keep the questions coming. Keep the video ideas coming as well. Oh, thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. I explain things better than most. Really? I can't even. Sometimes I wonder if I just ramble and just, my videos are on the long side. I can't teach this stuff in small, concise little bits, although I know most people today have the attention span very small. But I try to be as thorough as I can and try to explain this in about the most layman terms as possible because I don't know the level of experience that people are watching this. Sometimes I get more advanced guys that'll write me and say, I really need to be a little bit more technical and stuff, but I think the majority of people I'm reaching are people that are in the intermediate or even the beginning stages of recording. And if you get too technical, they don't understand, and understandably so. And I'm not a real technical guy. I'm not that bright. I need stuff explained to me very simply, so I try to explain it in a simple way. So I'm glad that it's helping you, Andy, and helping others. Let me see what other comments we got here. Yeah, Zoltar, is that what it says? Great Zoltar? I can't, or Zolar, I can't read it. Yeah, it would be, yeah, it'd be a lot of work. Yes, the video series I was talking about, it will be an immense amount of work. But honestly, I think I want to do it because I'd like to see if I could put something together that's pretty good. So I might do it anyway, but yeah, it'll be a lot of work. But I think it might be a cool little inside peek to how it's done. I mean, people ask me a lot about writing songs and how do I come up with the songs and just basic songwriting stuff. And I've had even people ask me to produce some songwriting videos, which again, there's 5 million of those on YouTube. And so I don't know that mine would be really any help to you. But if I could do something where I can take the songwriting and put it together with the recording and the gear and how I set things up and all the different techniques, that if you're a musician and also a recording engineer, that might be helpful. It's more than just the songwriting. And also too, there's a difference between writing song for music, or writing songs in music for television and film, than there is for writing it for a conventional CD that you're trying to put on a radio. It is different. And whether it's with vocals or without vocals, there is kind of a format and a formula to do that if you want your stuff to get used. And I've been doing that a long time as well. About 50% of my revenue is my business, Vision Recording Studios. 50% of it is clients, recording, mixing, and mastering. The other 50% is royalties I get from music placement, television, and film. And so it's, you know, there is a little bit of a formulated way to create music that isn't always so creative. It's a little bit more pre-canned. But if you want to make money in that side of the business, you have to accept that as part of it. And so I thought, you don't see a lot of that on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen anybody really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of that. So I thought that might be helpful too. So if I'm going to do a video series around recording and songwriting and this and that, I wanted to try to put enough different elements in there where it could actually be helpful to some people. And it's not just the conventional, here's how you write a verse, here's how you come up with a riff. You know, to me, that's, you know, you could find that anywhere. I don't think that would help you. But if I can show you, hey, you're thinking about getting into maybe, you know, television and film with your music, how do I create that music, and then how do I go about recording it, and how do I keep it simple and do things fast and still come up with stuff that's real pro sounding, that might be helpful. So, but it would be a lot of work. You're absolutely right. It'd be a ton of work. Let me see what else we got here. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Yeah, Studio One is a great DAW. If you saw my video on the 15 things I like about Studio One, and again, I created that video. I think I got like 50 or 60,000 views on that video at this point. I had the program literally 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, I just started using it. And so I should probably do another video, a follow-up video, now that I know the program better. But I can tell you, from a DAW user who has used Pro Tools 9, 10, and now 11, Studio One, Cubase back in the SX days, as well as Cubase 5, 4 and 5, Logic, not the new Logic, but 9. I've used, and there's other ones I know that are out there. I'm a Mac user, so the ones on the Mac, I've used all those DAWs. I know them all really well. I can tell you that, in my opinion, for ease of use, workflow, stability, those are the 3 main things. Studio One Pro, to me, beats all those DAWs hands down. Now, that's not to say that I recognize that Pro Tools is the industry standard and has been for years and continues to be. It probably always will be. It's the most commonly used. It absolutely is. Millions of people use Pro Tools and millions of people don't have problems with it. I've always had issues with Pro Tools. I've had it on 2 different types of computers. I've used 3 different versions of it. I'm up to Pro Tools 11 because they completely overhauled the program. It's supposed to be more stable. It is more stable than Pro Tools 10, but it's still got buggy. It still bugs. It still crashes. It still freezes up. It still gives you CPU errors and playback buffing errors, and it's not the most stable program in the world on my system. Cubase was a very stable program. I really liked Cubase. The reason why I left Cubase is because at the time they didn't make a 64-bit version for Mac. That's what got me into Studio One. if they had a 64-bit version for Mac at the time, I may have never went to Studio One. I may have stayed with Cubase. Cubase was super stable. I really liked it, and Studio One is very Cubase-like. I guess some of the engineers that used to work at Steinberg wrote the Studio One program. That's what I hear. So it makes sense because it is very Cubase-like. I liked Cubase. Logic I liked as well. Logic was a great program. I didn't really like the user interface. So some of the things I didn't really like about it, but it was a stable program. But Studio One for me was the one that worked the best. And that's the one I recommend. And I've used, like I said, all of the major DAWs, and that's the one I like. But it's not to say that any one is really any better than the other. They all do the same thing. They all just do it a little bit differently. Again, I use a Mac, but I use a 2009 Mac Pro. With it's a quad-core processor. I think it's 2.93 gigahertz. I have 24 gigs of RAM in it. It's not a brand new machine, but it's not an old dinosaur by any stretch of the imagination. And I've just always had a hell of a time with any version of Pro Tools I've ever used on it. But for every one Studio One user or one Cubase user or one Logic user, there's 50 Pro Tools users. There is. And some people will go to the grave saying how great Pro Tools is. And it's a great program. And I wish, before I got into Studio One, I wish that Pro Tools worked better for me, because 80% of the clients that I mix records for that aren't local, and they send me their sessions, 80% of them are Pro Tools sessions. They are. That's what most people record in. That's just the reality. So I have to use Pro Tools. When they don't want the sessions back and they don't care, they just want to send me the files and I can do whatever I want with them, then I take that Pro Tools session, I export the files, and I bring it into Studio One and I mix and master in Studio One. But if they want the sessions back, and a lot of clients do, then I have to do it in Pro Tools. And every time I use Pro Tools, it reminds me of how much I like Studio One better. But that's just my opinion. You know, not trying to create DAW wars, but you know, I just like Studio One. It's a great program. I wish that Pro Tools worked better for me, because that would have been a one-stop shop for me, because that's what the industry uses, unfortunately. So that's my take on DAWs, if any of you care. Andy, what are you doing? You're going from the bedroom studio to, you're going to a 1,000-square-foot building? Oh, you to a real, what is the cost involved? I already have the building. So are you asking me, let me approve some of these comments. You're asking me, you got a building, 1,000 square feet, and you're asking me what kind of costs are going to be involved setting up a studio? Is that what you want to know? If that's what you want to know, say yeah, and I'll try to explain that to you. Someone else has asked me, how do I get it licensed? Oh, you mean the music? Are you talking, how do I get the music licensed? I'm going to do a whole video series on that. If you want to learn about, I'll give you all a quick tip. If you want to learn about how to get your music into television and film, write down this website, www.taxi.com. If you haven't heard of it, go there. You can read their website, go through their forums. There's a ton of information on that website that's completely free. They're the #1 place for independent artists to get their music into television and film. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. It would take me a while to explain it. I will eventually do a video series on it, but go there. It is a membership, not to be on their website. To be a member of Taxi, there is a yearly membership fee. You don't need that to go read all the information and learn about how you get your music licensed. There is a way to do it. You can make money at it. You don't need to be a virtuoso to do so. If you can write simple songs, instrumentals and or vocal songs, in any style of music, doesn't matter the style, you can be in television and film if you want to work that into the business. But there are some ways to do it. A lot of it's networking. A lot of it is understanding what the market wants. And a lot of it is being able to turn out music in a pretty quick amount of time. And you know, that's all I'll say about it. But go to taxi.com and read up about that. That is the #1 resource in my mind for learning the nuts and bolts of how all that works. Let me approve these comments here. Do I do any video editing with Studio One? You know, I never have. I've never done any video in Studio One. I think you can do some video in Studio One. I've heard about that. I've never tried it. What I do for video editing, when I do my tutorials, my mixing tutorials, I use ScreenFlow, which is a Mac program, real simple screen capture stuff. When I do other videos, like dealing with my video camera or stuff that's away from the screen, I use Final Cut Pro 10 or the new Final Cut Pro on a Mac. But I've heard you can use Studio One. I'd be interested to try that, Andy, but I haven't yet. And you also said, Andy, okay, so Andy, you have a building, 1,000 square feet? Yeah, it does, 10,000. Oh, geez. 1,000 square foot building, and you're going to set that up as your studio. What is the cost involved? Well, first, is it just an open building? Is it a garage? What kind of building is this? You're gonna need, if it's just an open shell and you're gonna start construction from the ground up, there can be some heavy-duty cost involved unless you could do a lot of this work yourself. Everything from building walls to sound control to sound absorption and control to, there could be a whole air conditioning, heat. What kind of building is it? But that's great. You're moving from the bedroom to a building. You're that busy that you got that much business that you can do that. That's awesome. Yes, BMI has good info as well. You're absolutely right. I can't see your screen name. Can't see it from here. But yes, if you want to know more about licensing music, go to ASCAP or BMI. Those are the two performance right organizations websites. They will give you a lot of information as well. Very good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, and so you have a big open space. It's a guest house, and you're going to turn that into a studio. Wow. Okay, well, what do you need? It depends on what you're going to do. My guess is you're going to try to track bands in there, right? Because I know I've seen some of the stuff you've done. Me and you have shared some stuff back and forth, so I know you track drums and you track full bands. So basically, you need, at the very minimum, I would say, in my mind, a two-room studio. You need a live room of some kind, and you need something for isolation for a control room and and vocals at the very least. I guess it depends on your budget and what you're looking to do. How much you have? 1,000 square feet. My studio's about 900 square feet, so I can tell about the size. I have 4 rooms. I have the control room / live room, which we're kind of sitting in now. You can see behind me there's a window. I think you could see the reflection of the screen, which goes into my drum room and also doubles as a vocal room when I don't have drums in there. I have another room out in the back, which is kind of a guest room, kind of a guest lounge area, and then a final room way out in the back, which is where I isolate guitar cabinets. And then I have a vocal booth here over to my left. I have another vocal booth, and that's all done in about 900 square feet. So the rooms are not huge, but they certainly serve the purpose. So 1,000 square feet, you should be able to do that. I would try to do a couple isolation rooms, and the most important thing for you is to, wherever you're going to be mixing, if you have an open canvas, you may want to really, focus on making sure that you have that room set up right to be able to get good mixes, because I know you do a lot of mixing, and making sure you design that room properly, because I wouldn't say 80%, but certainly 50% of the battle of getting a good mix is making sure you're sitting in an environment that is conducive to hearing properly what's coming out of the monitors to get a good accurate mix. The room itself has so much to do with that. People completely underestimate it, and they go out and spend all this money on monitors and gear and all this stuff, and then they put it in a room that's not treated right, and they can't understand when they take the CD out of their control room and put it in the car, it doesn't sound right. That's why, because the room isn't set up right. So you want to consider that, and if you need any help, Andy, get a hold of me offline somehow, and I'll try to walk you through it or try to point you in the right direction if I can. And I want to see pictures and video when you set it up too, so make sure you share it with us. I'd like to see that. A lot more comments here. Let's see what we got. Let me approve all these so everyone can kind of follow along. Okay, do I record at 44.1, and what are my thoughts on high resolutions? Yes, I record at 44.1. High resolutions, 48, 96. At the end of the day, the CD is going to be 1644.1, right? So I recorded that. You know, some people recorded higher resolutions. There's nothing wrong with that. It can't hurt. The only thing is the file sizes are much bigger. So depending on the hard drive that you're using, you may want to be aware of that. You know, I've listened to the difference between a 44.1 and a 48. I don't know. Maybe my ears aren't sensitive. I don't hear the difference. Is there a difference? Yes. Some people record at 96. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, but it really becomes a file size problem after a while. And at the end of the day, it's all going to be dithered down to 44.1. So I don't really see the point, and I don't see the difference. So, but I would say try it. See if you hear a difference. Experiment with it. You got some customers. Hi, Andy, but you're running out of space for full band, so that's why you're building the studio. Well, that's great. I'm glad to see you're finally getting some work. That's awesome. Good for you, man. That's great. We could talk about that in a few minutes if you guys want, about clients and what some of my thoughts are. I did a video on how to get clients as well. Hopefully that helped you guys, some of the techniques that I've used to get clients. What about, someone's asking about Wave, what about Wave plugins? UAD plugins need some hardware interface. Yeah, the UAD stuff, if you're either going to use the Apollo or you're going to need to use their PCIe card. It's a hardware card that goes inside your computer, and that's and the plugins run off of that. So yes, Universal Audio is not the cheapest stuff to get into. It's not. It's expensive. It's not cheap. I mean, expensive being, you know, you can get into Universal Audio for around, I think the solo card runs around $200 or $300 plus the price of some additional plugins. So yeah, you need some hardware. Wave plugins. I use some. I'm not a huge fan of them. I own the Silver bundle from years and years ago, and I used to use the de-esser a lot, which I really liked. The Renaissance compressors were really good. Their EQs are even good. I recently picked up the Waves plugin, the Shep Neve 73. I think it's called the Shep 73, which is a EQ, an emulation of an old EQ plugin. Excuse me, an emulation of the EQ of an old Neve console owned by, I think it's Andrew Shep. Nice EQ. I think I picked it up for $75 on sale. It's a nice EQ. I've used it on some stuff. I really like it. Waves makes some good stuff. I'm not a huge Waves fan. Not because I don't think they make good stuff. It's because most of what I use, you know, for every plugin that Waves makes, I have the equivalent to Universal Audio stuff, and I just like that stuff, and I already own it. So I don't want to double up and buy more plugins. But Waves makes good stuff. They're very, very popular. There's no doubt about that. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to show you a couple more I did pick up a couple of new plugins. I'll show you guys in a few seconds. Let me get some more of these comments approved and see what we got here. Yeah, Andy, if you're married and you have a wife, she's not going to let you turn all the rooms in your house into a studio. I fully understand that, so you got to get yourself a new space. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a guest house and you can do it, and you got some customers coming in, knock yourself out, man. Have fun. Make yourself a man cave. My whole basement, when I purchased my house, was unfinished, and I built the whole basement into my recording studio. So I didn't steal any of the rooms upstairs from the wife. But yeah, I can understand if you're having that issue, and that's why you need to get a studio. I totally get it. Bit depth will make a much bigger difference in sample rate. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you. But at the end of the day, again, it's all going to be 16-bit 44.1, right, for a CD. So again, I've never gotten really into, you know, you could do different bit, you know, do you record at 16-bit, 24-bit, 32-bit float? I record at 24-bit 44.1, and it works. And that's what I've always done, and it seems to be fine, and I don't see much of a difference, you know, using any of the other choices. But again, experiment. What else we got? Yeah, DB, you got the same problem with the wife, huh? You can't turn your whole house into a recording studio, right? That's why when me and my wife bought my house, we bought one with an unfinished basement, so I can do just that, because I would have had to then buy another building just like you guys are trying to do. And I like working right upstairs. My commute is really nice. I walk downstairs. I don't have to drive anywhere. It's kind of nice. Let me show you guys a couple of more plugins that I have. just so I could show you before I forget. So let me take a look here. Get another kind of a guitar, kind of a plug-in here. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so here is a plugin by Brainworks called the Shred Spread, BX Shed Spread. Again, for a guitar player, this is great for guitars, not for a guitar player, for guitars. What this does is this allows you, I don't know if I can blow this up at all. Let you see it a little bit better. Not really. See if I can expand this a little bit so you guys can. It's not really going to work for me, is it? Well, anyway, if you go to Brainworks Music, just go Google BX Shed Spread, and what this does is this allows you, you know, when you take guitars and let's say you pan guitars hard left and right, 2 tracks, and you want them to sound even wider. This thing is wonderful for really spreading those guitars out nice, get them big and wide, wider than just panning hard left and right. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what the technology is and how they make that sound like it's even wider than it really is. But it's great on guitars. I've also used this thing on background vocals and gang vocals like choirs, really getting that big spacious sound. This is a wonderful plugin. I think it's 99 bucks. Someone turned me onto it and I tried it, and I use this now on almost every mix that I do with heavy guitars or, you know, acoustic guitars, 12 strings, you know, instead of, you know, recording 2 tracks and panning them left and right and then putting this plugin on there and spreading them out a little bit more. It really gives a huge sound. Really, really nice plugin. We're trying. You could try it. You can demo it. Try it on vocals. Try it on guitars. There's a bunch of great presets in there. Something to check out if you guys are interested. So that is the BX Shed Spread by Brainworks. Really, really nice. And then the other one I wanted to show you guys, I deleted the screen here, but it's a new delay that I picked up by Sound Toys called the Echo Boy. I think it's called the Echo Boy. Let me see. Yeah, Echo Boy. This is a wonderful delay. One of the things that I was struggling with is I didn't have a really nice delay. I used to use the Universal Audio Cooper Time Cube, which I really like, but it was kind of limited, and it didn't. It's a good delay. I shouldn't say it's not a good delay, but it was a little bit limited on some of the different things that you can do with it. Studio One has some nice delays, some basic delays, but this Echo Boy, man, this thing has got a ton of presets. It's got every instrument imaginable, vocals, and I mean, what seems to be like hundreds of presets, and the presets are very usable. And this is a great, great, great delay plug. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit so you can see the user interface. Yeah, not much bigger, but it's really, really nice. You know, I don't want to get into all the different specifics. I'm going to demo this in a video soon. But this is a really, really nice delay. If you're looking for a really good delay that's extremely usable and that has a ton of features and a ton of great presets for every different thing under the sun, and special effects and everything, the Sound Toys Echo Boy is really cool. And again, this is $179, but you could demo it, I think, for 30 days. Again, not the cheapest plugin in the world, but again, just something new I picked up, something new I'm working with. I really do like it. So that's the Echo Boy by Sound Toys. So I wanted to show you guys that. So I did. I went ahead and I've upgraded a lot. No, I wouldn't say upgraded. Just changed around and got some new stuff in the studio. You know, trying to constantly got a bunch of comments here. Let me see, Andy. I saw your comment on a compressor. Let me just approve all these and let me just see what else we got. Yeah, you saw Dave Pensato using Echo Boy. Yeah, that's not where I got turned on to it, but I know he uses it. It's just a great plugin. That's the last delay I'll ever buy. I never used the PSP delays. I'll have to. See, you're gonna get me checking that out. You're gonna make me buy stuff. I'm sure it's great. I mean, plugins are a weird thing, man, because there are so many of them, and again, I fall into this trap too, man. It's like a new guitar pedal, right? how many do you need? You know, they all do the same thing. A delay is a delay is a delay. It is, you know, and you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money on plugins to get really good sounds. But I'm sure if you're into this recording mixing thing, you have the you know, the gear acquisition syndrome like everybody else, and you always want something new. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there, man. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Let's see. See any more comments here? I'm just trying to keep caught up. That's all. Let me just approve these and see what we got. Yeah, DB, you said it. I know you use Steven Slate, VTM, and VCC. Your thoughts? You mean what do I think of them? Is that what you're asking? I do use those two things. I'm a huge proponent of those. But Andy, let me get back to you. You said you were looking for a good mix bus compressor. UA is out because you have a Mac. Not sure what. Oh, because you have an iMac. Oh, so you think you can't use the universal audio stuff because you have an iMac? You can. I know what you're thinking because you can't stick a hardware card inside of an iMac, but they do also make what's called the satellite. I think it's called the satellite, where it takes place of the PCIe card. It's a FireWire, so it's like it looks like a little USB box that you plug in FireWire, and it has all the universal audio plugins that way. So you can do that as well, and the price of that is equivalent to the PCIe card. But if you didn't want to go UA, Universal Audio, because of the price or just because you want something different, mix bus compressor, I would say Steven Slate, the virtual mix bus compressor. It's 3 mix bus compressors in one. It's I think it's $99, but go to the Slate website. It's always on sale. That's a wonderful mix bus compressor, and you have 3 of them. You have one that emulates the old SSL, which they call the gray compressor. You have the red compressor, which is the old Focusrite, and then you have the MU compressor, which emulates, I believe, the not the Fairchild. I can't remember the name. But 3 very distinct, different sounding mix bus compressors, and I've used all 3, and I love them and use them on every single mix, every mix. If I'm doing acoustic, kind of female, kind of poppy stuff, I'll use the MU compressor. If I'm doing hard rock stuff, I'll use the Focusrite Red and or the Gray. But they're wonderful compressors, and they're inexpensive in the big scheme of things compared to UA. So that's what I would suggest, Andy. Ed is asking, so is this where we can communicate with you? Well, for this chat, yes, because I'm not really sure how the live chat room works. I could see on my screen in the Google Hangout here that there's a chat room, but we don't seem to have that hooked up. So we're just doing this through comments. I'm going through and approving all your comments. But if you want to communicate with me, you could go to my website, visionrecordingstudios.com. and shoot me an email. That's the best way to get a hold of me. You could do it through YouTube as well. I check it all the time, but visionrecordingstudios@yahoo.com, that's my email. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Oh, I see about the Echo Boy. Yeah, you're saying the Echo Boy is top-notch, but you wanted to skip the iLock. That's why you went with the PSP. Yeah, some people have problems with the iLock. I've been using an iLock for years, and I've never had an issue with it, but I know people that have, so I don't want to belittle that other people have had issues, and I haven't, but I haven't. I don't have any problems with the iLock, knock on wood. I have the iLock too. I use the iLock Manager, and I've always used it, never had an issue, so the iLock doesn't bother me. Yeah, Andy, I do too. I love the Slate stuff. To me, they make great stuff. They just do. Oh, okay, DB, you're asking my thoughts on the Steven Slate, the VTM, and the VCC. I think they're great. Again, I'm a guy that likes that old vintage analog sound. And you have one of 2 choices if you want that sound. You can either go out and invest a ton of money in old vintage hardware and an old school console, which I don't have, which you can do. And that will cost you, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that old school sound. And you have to have a tech, and you have to have all kinds of maintenance people to keep all the equipment running. Short of that, you can go to stuff like, I haven't heard anyone that's done this better, the Steven Slate, the VTM, which is the virtual tape machine, which emulates the old school 16-track tape machine and the 2-track mastering tape machine. And it sounds like the real thing. It's better than any tape machine plugin I've ever heard, and I use the Universal Audio ones, and you guys know I love Universal Audio. I've used both their tape machines. They don't sound like the Slates. They're not bad. I've used the Wave ones. They don't sound, the Kramer, I think, one, they doesn't sound like the Slate ones. The thing about the Slate plugins in general is they're very, very subtle. When I find when you're trying to use tape machines and old school console plugins by most manufacturers, and you engage the plugin, you hear this huge difference. They really hype up the low end and the top end so you can hear the difference as the end user to think, oh wow, that really, I'm getting my money's worth. Look what it does to my mix. But if you really understand the way those tape machines, the analog tape machines and an analog desk works, is that the way the signal passes through all that old school transistors and all the circuitry, it's very subtle. It's not this, oh my God, listen to the difference. You really got to be able to know what you're listening for to hear the difference. And it adds that warmth and that smooth sound that you don't get from just running, say, quote unquote stock plugins. And if you saw my videos I think I took the same song, mixed both songs, one with third-party plugins, which was all Universal Audio and Slate, and then one with just PreSonus plugins. And again, not a knock against PreSonus. I could have done the same thing in Pro Tools with Pro Tools plugins. And you listen to those two mixes side by side, and I've had a lot of people even email me and tell me the one with the third-party plugins sounds more polished, more professional. The bulk of that is the VTM, the Slate VTM, and the VCC. Those two plugins, if you want that old school sound and you're going to spend money on anything, I would say spend them on those two plugins first and foremost. They will do more for your mix, driving you towards that old school sound, than anything else on the market, in my mind. I love their stuff. I use them on every single mix. And I think, again, the VCC is probably, I think both those plugins are probably between $100 and $149 each. But I know they're always running bundle deals and sales, so I would say check their website. You could demo the stuff. If you don't believe me, go demo it. It doesn't cost you anything to demo it. Put it on, take that VCC and put it on the mix bus part of the plugin on the stereo out, and then put the virtual channel across all your tracks. And all you do is just toggle it on and off, and you're going to hear the difference. It's going to be subtle, but it's going to be there. It's going to glue the mix together. That's what those old school desks did. And that's the sound that I like. It's a sound that I kind of have always, has appealed to my ear. And it's the sound that now my clients expect from me, because that's what, around here, that's what I'm known for. That's the sound you get when you come here. And so I love their stuff, and I highly recommend it, and I don't get anything for recommending it. Steven Slate doesn't know me from Adam. I don't get any money from any of these plugin companies. I'm not in cahoots or in bed with any of these people. And there's a lot of YouTubers that are. I see people who will promote certain products, and the next thing you know, they're in bed with another company, and now they're using all their products, and now they're the best products in the world. I mean, and again, that's all because they're all trying to make money. And again, I don't frown upon people doing that. I'm just here to tell you that I don't make a dime from any of these companies. They don't give me free plugins. They don't even know me. I'm a little guy, in the big scheme of things. I don't have 100,000 subscribers to my YouTube channel. Nobody knows me. People don't send me free products to demo. I don't ask for them. I just share with you guys what I use and what I really think of the stuff. And I would say, if you're looking for that old school sound, go with the Steven Slate stuff. Buy those two plugins, put them across your mix, and you're going to hear the difference. So DB, I hope that has answered your question. Wow, and since that time, I've gotten a ton of comments. Let me see what they are. And I'll approve them all, and I'll try to answer any questions that are here. Well, I'm glad there's still people kind of hanging around. We're an hour and a half in. I thought you guys would get tired of me and throw me out of here in 15 minutes. Let me see here. What are the best plugins for reverbs? Again, best is, I wouldn't say best. What do I use? I use Universal Audio because that's what I have. I use the Dream Verb, which I really like of Universal Audio, and I also use it's all the reverbs I use are part of the Universal Audio package. I wish I could tell you there's some other stuff I use, but there isn't, because that's what I have. But Waves makes some good reverbs. Studio One actually has a couple of good. I really like their room reverb. But again, you know, you got to try them out. One good thing about plugins is you could demo a lot of these things. But again, I use the Universal Audio stuff. I know people hate when I say hate hearing me say that, but I'm just being honest. You know, I don't want to stray you down the wrong path. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you what I use. Yes, Andy, the new beta of VTM uses less resources. Yeah, I have that as well. You're right, it does. Although, again, I never had a problem with the old one as far as the amount of resources that it would use, and I'd put 30, 40 instances of that on my mix and never have a problem. But the new one uses even less. I'm glad that they've actually recoded it so it would use less resources. That was all part of their converting their plugins over to the new AAX format for Pro Tools, which they still haven't completely done yet. Which is kind of a drag, because when I'm mixing clients' projects in Pro Tools, the VTM just came out. The VCC is still not available, and that really bugs the hell out of me, because I really love that plugin, and I hate to mix stuff in Pro Tools and not have it, but it's not out yet. Let's see. Have I ever tried Yushi Satan? I don't even know what that is. Not sure if that's a plugin. Yeah, Abbey Road has a tape machine out now too. I think it's made by Waves. Never tried it. I saw a demo of it on YouTube, on the YouTube channel Pro Tools Expert. Russ his name is Russ. did a demo of that. Sound pretty good. But I'm not gonna, you know, I have after having the VTM, and I have the Universal Audio ones because I had those before Steven Slate made the VTM. So between those two tape machines, I would have no reason to buy another one. Yes, DB, the VCC is on sale for $99. Go pick that up. Go buy that, or demo it. Go demo it. If you demo that plugin, you're gonna buy it. I'm telling you, if you demo that plugin, you're gonna buy it. For $99, you're getting 5 emulated consoles: the SSL, the Neve, the Trident, the API, and the RC tube. You get to work, you know, it's a hell of a deal. Is it exactly the same as working on an old school console? I mean, I worked on an old Neve when I first started. I don't remember. I can't AB them, but I'll tell you, it's got that analog characteristic. It sounds like that. It really, really does. And go read the reviews on it. You won't see a bad review on that plugin. If you can find one, please send me the link. I'd love to see it. I've yet to see a bad review on the VCC. So for $99, I'd buy it, but go demo it. Yes, you're right. Audio Deluxe also has, I buy a lot of plugins from AudioDeluxe.com. If you don't know about that website, their plugins are always less expensive than, not always, but most times less expensive. And they always have sales on the Slate stuff too. So I would check that out, AudioDeluxe.com. I have bought a lot of stuff from them in the past. Let's see. For verbs, like the 2C audios, I've never heard of that. Maybe you can send me a link to that. I'd like to check it out, just because I like being up on this stuff. I'd love to see it. I don't think I've ever heard of it. Let's see what else we have here. So another question I have for you guys, maybe this will generate a couple of questions. What is your, you know, a lot of, I'm assuming there's a few guys out there that are, you know, kind of starting up their little part-time business and in their home recording studio, or maybe some of you are just writing music for yourself and you're not really dealing with clients. But what is your greatest challenge in your home studio, outside of the fact that the wife doesn't want you using all the rooms in the house? Maybe I can help there. I get a lot of people ask me about, different, technical issues, and just, what is your greatest challenge in your home studio? That's the question. While I look at some of these other comments here. Can I do a video on vocal processing, tuning and stuff with Auto-Tune or Melodyne? Yeah, I'll be honest. I have Auto-Tune. I have Melodyne. I rarely use them. When I do vocals, and again, I use them very sparingly, just to tune certain small things. When I'm working with vocalists, we sing it till we get it right. I'm not a big fan of over auto-tuning or over melodyning things, because when you use that too much, it sounds like it's been corrected. I would rather have a vocalist sing it right, and do what it takes to get them to sing it right. Producing vocals is a tricky thing. It's, for me, and it's probably one of the most difficult things to produce is vocals, because everything from the vocalist's mood, how they're feeling, their attitude that day. Did they have a fight with the wife or the husband before they left the house to come to me? Whatever it is affects their instrument, their throat, right? It does. A guitar player doesn't feel well that day. You could still play guitar, so I'm still going to get a good guitar sound. The performance may not be as great, but you're still going to get a great sound, a great tone, whether the guitar player is feeling well or not. Same thing with drums. When you're playing an instrument, but when your instrument is you, the psychological and the physiological part of someone affects the way that vocal is. And so it's difficult at times to get real good vocal recordings, and especially getting things, where they sound like they're in key and they're in pitch. And so, yeah, Auto-Tune and Melodyne I use, but very sparingly. Yeah, I would do a video on that to show you how I use it. But there's a lot of videos out there from power users that really know how to use it, that really go in there and they will fix every little nuance. I don't do that. I don't do that kind of editing, real deep editing in any instrument. Most of the stuff that I do are full bands, or people that come in and play real instruments. And part of the vibe of music, to me, and the organic feel of it, is to have some of that imperfection and some of the warts, so to speak. And I don't go in and try to fix every little thing. But yeah, I will definitely put that on the list of videos to do. I can show how I use Melodyne. I don't use Auto-Tune much anymore, because I have Melodyne. I think it's a better program, but I have used it, but again, very sparingly. Oh, a bunch more comments here. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, do I use the soft tube saturation knob? Are you talking about, is that a plugin itself? There's a saturation knob on the Echo Boy, if that's what you mean, or do they make a separate? I think they make a separate saturation plugin, right? I think it's in Studio One. I've never used it. I'm not even sure what it does. My guess is it saturates and it gives it some of that analog sound. But there's a saturation knob on the Echo Boy delay, which I use, which is really nice. Yeah, your biggest issue is having to over Melodyne. Yeah, yeah, again, singers, vocalists, and I'm not a singer, so I'm not knocking them. It's a tough business, and the only thing I can, again, vocals, when you're doing songs with vocals, the vocal is the song. You don't have a good vocal, you don't have a good song. And so I try to, I don't even like singers to know I even have those tools in the toolkit. I don't even let them know. If they ask me if I can use Auto-Tune, I tell them I don't use it. I mean, I can use it, obviously, but I don't let them know that. I want them to perform the song and sing it right. And, it's not all just about pitch. That's, to me, performance and emotion is more than, you got to be able to sing in key, obviously. But it's not really about that. It's more about delivering the performance with conviction, passion, and you want to be able to close your eyes and listen back to the speakers and hear that person should be standing right in front of you, and if they can get their vocal performance to make the speakers disappear, so to speak. So you feel the vocal. You just don't hear it, but you feel the emotion in the throat and in the chest. That's what you're going for. And again, that's all producing. That's the job of a producer. That's where if you're the engineer, yeah, but you really got to be a producer, and it's all about the psychological, thinking and the way, psychologically a vocalist is feeling at that time. And that's not an easy thing to do. That takes time, and everybody's different. Every singer's different. And some days, singers just don't have it. There's been many times where we're scheduled to do vocals that day, and we get in, and after 30 minutes we go, you know what, today's not the day, for a variety of reasons. And so, yeah, Melodyne is not a way to fix a bad vocal performance. Melodyne is, in my mind, is a way to, if the vocal performance is great, but there's one note here or there that needs to be pulled into key, that's what it's used for, in my mind. That's what it could be used for much more than that, but that's what I would recommend you use it for. It's not there to fix a crappy vocal recording. It's just like the mix is not, you don't fix a bad tracking session in the mix. You don't do that. You can do that a little bit, but if you want a really pro sound, it all starts at the source. And so, yes, and Andy says you're right. Vocal sound mic placement, it's key as well. And Andy's asking me, should I use an outboard? Let me just approve these other comments, Andy, and I'll hit your question. I promise. Should I use an outboard compressor before going into the DAW on vocals? I do, but I didn't always. I got to be honest. It's only been recently that I did that. And if what you saw earlier, the Inward Connections Brute opto compressor is what I use. I don't heavily compress vocals on the way into the DAW. I lightly compress, maybe 3 dB, just to grab the peaks and kind of bring them down. Some people, a lot of people will, that are really used to the old analog way of doing things, they'd hit that compressor hard on the way in. I don't. I like to leave a little bit to spare, and I'll compress it a little bit more inside the DAW. But I like to try to do as little processing in the DAW with vocals that I can, and try to get it on the way in as best as possible. And not just to compress in the peaks as I was talking about, but also, again, using analog gear, again, you're running the signal through that analog circuitry. It gives it a warmer sound. It just does. As I said earlier in this webcast, I was using a Grace Designs compressor, which is really designed to be very transparent. It's not supposed to add coloration to the signal, and it didn't. It's one of the reasons why I sold it, because I wanted the compressor to add a little color, a little bit of mojo, and that's what this particular compressor does. There's other ones that do the same thing, but it's very similar to an LA2A. An LA2A is known for being able to push that compressor very hard, and the signal does not sound compressed. It sounds natural, and it adds some nice coloration, some nice warmth, and some nice silkiness to the signal. So that's what I do with the vocal. So you don't have to use an outboard compressor, but I suggest that, again, it depends what you want to do with your studio and what your budget is. If you could spend a few bucks, I would try it. Again, you can get a 500 series compressor and a 500 series preamp and a 500 series chassis, for $1,300, $1,400, get all 3 pieces, and now you got a really nice vocal signal chain. Let's see, what other stuff do we have here? Yeah, you're right. Too much fixing isn't polish, it's salvage. Yeah, sometimes well, you're right. If you didn't track the vocal or the instruments and you're getting a project to mix and it wasn't tracked well, yes, you're salvaging things, and then therefore something like Melodyne or Auto-Tune may come in a bigger hand for you. But if you track the stuff, get it right at the source. But you're right. Sometimes you got a project where you're looking to just salvage something, and you didn't track it, and you don't have the chance to go get it right at the source. So you got to now try to fix it. Melodyne's a good tool for that. So I would absolutely concur with you. Yes, the soft tube saturation is a Studio One extension. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've never used it. I've never used it, but I might check it out now that you say that, because it's a Studio One plugin. I'll see what it does. Oh, okay, Andy, you're saying it's a saturation, but it gets distorted very quick. You use it on guitars. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'll check it out. I'll see what it is. Let's see. What you have a question about vocals? You already posted to my Facebook account. Please check this out. Thanks. Yeah, I'll check it out a little bit later. I will check out my Facebook page. If you posted something, I'll check it out, and I'll get back to you if you need me to get back to you with something. No problem. I'll try to help you. Ed's saying Melodyne is good for that whacked out intonation on a guitar. It's a good point. It's a good point. You can use it for that too. Yeah, I mean, Melodyne can be used for a lot. The Melodyne, you can create harmonies, vocal harmonies with Melodyne. There's things you can do that are pretty cool with it. Again, I'm not a power user of it. I use it very sparingly. But yeah, that's a good point. You can use it for a guitar that maybe has intonation that's a little wacky. You can kind of fix that with Melodyne in the mix. Andy's been running running through the Studio Live compressor. Okay, so you've been running your vocals through your Studio Live and using the onboard compressor. Yeah, that's a way to do it too. About 3 dB, and it's really improved your vocal for yeah. I mean, exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing, just with a different compressor. DB's asking me, am I familiar with the Nomad Factory Magnetic? It's a 2-reel tape swarm. No, I think I've heard of it, but I've never used it. I'm not that familiar with it. Have you used it? Well, what does it do? It sounds like it's a tape, some kind of a tape simulator type plugin. What exactly is it? Yeah, I've never used that plugin. Let's see what other comments we got here. Okay, so that's it for this minute. But so I think that's all I really had, guys. I just wanted to show you some of my new stuff. I just wanted to kind of, touch base again and say hi to everybody, kind of in real time, and thank everyone for subscribing and sharing the videos. I'm glad they're helping. I hope they're helping. There's going to be more videos to come. Like I said, one of the things I have not really done is I really haven't done any product demos. Really, the only reason why is because I don't have the right kind of camera and stuff to do that. Everything I'm doing right now is on this little cheap webcam, which is not going to be the way to do good product demos, especially for audio. And I'm considering getting a high definition camcorder to start producing some better videos so I can do stuff away from the screen, and do some more stuff where I can show you things like the Rock Crusher that we talked about earlier, or like the amp, and how I do things in the studio. But I just haven't gotten there yet. But that's going to be the next set of the next set of videos, as we move into the future, to try to give more variety and just give you guys something else to to kind of think about and to kind of try to help. So the more that you guys are sharing the videos and the more subscribers we get, with the more feedback of what kind of videos you guys want to see, what kind of videos would be helpful for you, because this is really your channel. Again, I've said it a few times in the past, and I'll say it again. I don't want to be like a lot of these other home recording guys that just put up the same videos. And if you go look at some of these channels, they got 1,000 videos on mixing. I don't know how you could come up with 1,000 videos on mixing. You got to have the same video 15 times, maybe explain 15 different ways. To me, that's so redundant to what's already out there that to me that doesn't seem like it would be very helpful. But if there's ways that we could take some of those things and maybe add things to it or put a different twist on it to give you a different way of looking at something. That's really what the YouTube channel, I think, would be more designed to do. So a lot of that comes from your guys' feedback, and that's why my videos are a little more spaced out. I don't have enough content or even enough time to do 2-3 videos a week. I'm doing like 1 video a month, and as things come up in my daily workflow, if I feel like it's something I want to show you, I'll record a video. As a matter of fact, I was doing a project today, acoustic guitar player, female, 14-year-old girl, singer, songwriter, voice like an angel. The talent out of this 14-year-old kid is unbelievable. Anyway, in editing her vocal track, again, getting back to a professional recording, one of the things I didn't share, because I didn't think of it at the time, is, and someone asked me to do a basic editing video, you know, for people when you're going to go in and mix and you get these projects. How do you start editing? How do you clean up the track? So on and so forth. But one of the things I do in vocals a lot is taking out a lot of the breaths between the vocal lines, where it still sounds natural, but when singers, especially singers that are not real experienced in recording, they get between phrases and they get this big in the microphone, and when you compress that, you can hear that, and it sounds, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And that's one of the things I had to do, was go in, I wanted to clean out all the breaths and really clean up the vocal track, because part of a good vocal recording is cleaning up all the noise between lines, getting rid of the headphone bleed that's, you know, between phrases, get rid of the breaths. So I'm going to do one of those videos. But it's things like that I don't see a lot of that done on YouTube, and those are the types of videos I think that are helpful. It really gets more in depth than just here's how you EQ a kick drum. I mean, to me, there's 4,000 videos on that. You don't need me to tell you how to EQ a kick drum. But so I hope that makes sense, everybody, with the way I'm trying to drive this YouTube channel. But again, if I get enough subscribers that say, hey, we'd like to really see how you EQ a kick drum, I'd be more than happy to provide that video. But because the content is spaced out, and because my time is somewhat limited, I want to only be able to provide content of stuff that you guys really want to see. So I really want this to be an interactive thing where you guys really help provide me with some of the ideas, and then I'll do it. And so that's really what this YouTube channel is really all about. And so we're going to get more into those types of videos, more into product demos. A bunch more comments here to see if I can, you know, create something a little different for you guys. Oh, thanks, DB. I'm glad you guys like it. I don't even know if this is a show. This is just me getting on here and rambling. I'm going to get the comments figured out, though, guys. I promise. I'm going to figure all that stuff out. So maybe we'll do another one soon. Thanks. Oh, congratulating me on the new toys. Yeah, it's I'm like everybody else. I get new gear. I really like the gear. I've lately really been getting into guitar because I'm about to record all this guitar-oriented music, and I really wanted to change things up. And so I'm excited to start that. Guitar reamping. Yes, Andy. I don't do a lot of I shouldn't say. I've done some reamping. That would be a good video, because I've actually looked for videos on YouTube about how to do guitar reamping, and there's a lot of videos, but none of them are really that good, and they don't explain the whole process. It's a little tricky if you've never done it before. I will do a video on guitar reamping at one point, probably when I'm recording, although I don't do a lot of that because, again, I'm a big guy as far as get it right at the source. You know, I don't want to, and again, I'm not saying this is wrong, because I know a lot of people that do it and it works really well, but for me, I don't record direct dry signals for guitar so I could go back and choose from 5,000 amps later. That's a great thing to have, and I have done it at times, and I will do a video on it. But again, the thing about being in the DAW realm, and the thing about being in digital in general compared to old school with consoles and limited, you know, everything back then was limited. You had a limited amount of tracks. If the desk only had 24 tracks, you only had 24 tracks, or you know, 48 tracks or whatever. You know, if you had 3 hardware compressors, you only had 3 compressors. There wasn't an unlimited amount of plugins and an unlimited amount of tracks and an unlimited amount of simulators, and you had to make decisions. You had to commit. And that was all part of the process which kept the music for me organic and more real. The downside of all this digital stuff is the possibilities are endless, and again, I've gotten caught up in that too, and I try to preach to people, don't get caught up in that, you know, with the plugins and this and that. Find a set of tools that work for you and stick with them, you know, because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to, and it's, you know, and it's reamping is a lot like that for me. It makes sense at times. I've done it. I have the capabilities of doing it, and I will do a video on it, but I don't do a lot of it. If I know I'm writing a rock song and I know in my head kind of what guitar sounds I need, I get it at the amp. I have a couple of amps. I'm not picking it up because it's too heavy, but I mean, I have a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe for that Fender sound. I have a Marshall JCM 800, and now an EVH 5153. Those are three very different sounding guitars. And with the Rock Crusher and the speaker simulator that I talked about, I can make any kind of guitar sound I want, from country to blues to hard rock to metal and everything in between. To me, to reamp and then try to go back, and it's just too much more of a hassle. But I know people do it, and they want to know how to do it, so I will show you how to do it. The one thing I didn't show you guys were my guitars. Maybe I'll do that the next time. And I have enough guitars to get any kind of sound I want. There isn't a, you know, if you need a guitar tone, I could capture it without having to reamp. How do we get a good stereo spread on a mono guitar? I think that, okay, so you have a mono guitar track and you're looking to get a big stereo sound out of guitars. Well, the first thing and again, I hope I'm answering, let me approve this comment, Ed. The first, oops. Let me just refresh this, and okay, so the question was, how do I get you have a mono guitar, how do you get a good stereo spread? Well, if you have a mono guitar, what I always tell people, if you want a nice big stereo guitar sound, double track the guitars. So in other words, let's say you're playing a rhythm part on a guitar, play it twice. Don't copy and paste the track and then try to nudge it. That's the easy way out. Have the guitar player, yourself or whoever, play the track twice. Try to get it as tight as possible. It's never going to be exact, and that's the point. All those little nuances are the difference. It makes the difference in that sound. Spread them, pan them hard left and right. That's the first thing I would do. Then I would use something like the BX Shed Spread plugin I showed you a little earlier to really spread them out. And that'll give you that nice big sound. If you want it to be more lush sounding, you can add some chorusing, some reverb, some delay. But that's how I would take a mono track and spread it out. Double it up and spread them out. Hope that helps. Hope that was what you wanted me to say or what you were looking for. Let's see. Wants me to sign into my YouTube account again. Okay, I got some more comments to approve here. Let me approve these, and let me try to answer these questions if I can. On the other tracks, you doubled the guitars. Oh, okay, I hear you. Yeah, did what I say, did that make sense? Would that answer your question, I guess? Because if I didn't, please tell me I didn't and clarify, and I'll try to answer it. Oh, thanks, Andy, for the promo. You didn't need to do that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, I don't use my YouTube channel to push my services on people. That's not why this is here. But you know, a lot of people do, and I understand that. You'll never see me on my YouTube channel pushing my services. I think I have 1 or 2 promo videos on YouTube, and it was because I used that video to embed it onto my website. But yes, I do offer mixing and mastering services. If you want that, you can contact me offline, and I'll try to help you. And I do video, you know, I do in-depth video tutorials using your music. Which go way deeper than the stuff you see on YouTube, which a lot of people, you know, purchase from me. But again, I don't I don't want to get on a tangent about my services, because again, that's not why I'm here. But thank you, Andy. I do appreciate that. On the other track, okay, yeah, on the other tracks we doubled the guitars, but we're unable to. Does that mean you weren't? I'm assuming that meant because the project's already been recorded and you don't have the option to go back and re-record the guitar a second time. Is that what you mean? The difference between. If that's what you meant, then if that is the case, then you could take that track. You can copy that track, and then you can use nudging, or what you could offset that second copied track maybe by 25 milliseconds. You can push it a little bit so it's a little bit of a slight delay, so it's not lined up perfectly with the first track. Because if you just take the first track and copy it, all that's going to do is just make the track louder. There's not going to be there's not going to be any difference. But if you nudge it a little bit, it'll appear to sound like there's two different guitar tracks playing. But the problem with that is all the nuances of the playing is going to be exactly the same. But if that's all you got, that's all you got. And you can do that, and you can pan it, and you can use something like the BX shed spread to help widen the guitars. You could do that. Let's see. You were looking for a super killer way to for fixing it. Again, try the BX shed spread that I showed earlier. Maybe that'll work for you. Yeah, sometimes if you're not the person that tracked the project and you're just mixing the project and you don't have the ability to go back and add stuff or fix, you got to use some of the fix it in the mix techniques. And I hate to use that because I don't advocate that. I'm always get it right at the source, but sometimes you don't have that option, and then you got to come up with these creative ways of fixing things. But yeah, try the BX shed spread. Go demo it. Try it. You know, it's put a preset. I think there's a preset called ultra wide guitars. Put that on there. Copy, paste the track, nudge it a little bit, spread them out, hard left, hard right, and then drop that plug in. Oh, by the way you want to use that plugin is if you have a guitar left track, guitar right, send that to a guitar bus, stereo bus, and then put the shed spread on the stereo bus, and then spread out the guitars. That might help you. Let's see, a couple more here. Andy, you're recording a guy that has most of the instruments recorded and mixed in Nashville. One of the tracks has static on it. Ooh, how do you get that out? Is it distortion? Is it clipping? I can't. How would you get rid of that? There is a couple of plugins. I've never used them called the denoise. I think Waves. Actually, I think I have it. I don't know who the hell makes it, or maybe it's Ozone. There is a couple of denoise. I think it's called, or declicker. There's a couple of plugins that will try to remove some of that stuff, but I guess it depends on what the problem really is. You might not be able to get rid of it, but they do make some utility plugins that might be able to help you. Yeah, a good example on Pensado's Place and how he automates the delay on the double track. Yeah, Pensado Place is a great resource. I'm sure all you guys know about that. I mean, I've mentioned that before. I mean, you know, he knows a hell of a lot more about this stuff than I do. That's for sure. Excellent resource. You know, there's a lot of good resources. You know, Pensado's Place is good. There's other guys out there that do the home recording thing. You know, the Recording Revolution, Graham Cochran, he's really good. He has a lot of stuff. Tons of videos. He's a Pro Tools guy. Tons of videos. A lot of good tips from him. Joe Gilder over at the Home Studio Corner, who's now a big PreSonus guy. He was a Pro Tools guy. He jumped on board with PreSonus. Now he's a big PreSonus guy. But he has a lot of good videos as well. He's really good as well. I've learned a lot from those guys in years past. So there's a lot of good resources out there to help you with these little tips and tricks. Yeah, Andy, if it's background static, I don't know. I would try to Google it, try to find a utility plugin. There's stuff out there that might be able to help you. That's a shame if you got again, if it wasn't recorded, you got something that wasn't recorded properly or optimally at the source, and that's the problem, right? That's always the problem. If it wasn't recorded well, you can have a problem trying to make that thing sound great. That's where you got to get creative, Andy. And I hate that more than anybody, but it is the nature of the beast. All right. Well, you know, guys, it's getting on about 11, a little after 11 Eastern Standard, and as I said, I've been up since, I think I'm on 14 or 15 hours now. I've been working today. I haven't been out of the studio, and I have clients here all day tomorrow and all day on Sunday. So I'm probably going to get ready to pack it in. I wasn't sure if anybody would even show up for this thing, but I'm glad people did. I hope this was somewhat useful and you guys somewhat enjoyed this. Again, I wish the comments and stuff were a little bit easier to deal with. I'm not sure why that is, but this seemed to work. It's just a little bit of a pain in the butt. And so this will be up, I guess this will go up on YouTube and people will see this at one point, so people can share this video with others. And if you guys want, we'll do another one. Maybe in another month or so, we'll do another one if this was helpful. But let me know what you think. Leave some comments below. Send me some emails. Give me some more video ideas. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you think about that whole recording video series and all that stuff. If that's something you guys want to see, maybe something I do. But again, this was really more, first and foremost, really to just get online with the guys that have been following me for a while and help and spread the word about the YouTube channel and say thanks and just kind of say hi to everybody in person. Again, anything else I can do for you, send me an email, visionrecordingstudios@yahoo.com. I'll be more than happy to help. And please keep sharing the channel, keep liking, keep sending people, the links, let them, get involved. Again, the more subscribers we have, the more content ideas we'll have, the better content we can create. And I'm going to continue to try to step up the video production and get a little bit more away from just inside the DAW and try to get more into the studio and show you how, the nuts and bolts of recording and tracking and product reviews and that. Again, the only reason why I haven't done it to this point is because there's a lot more involved. There's a lot more with camera work. There's a lot more with editing. It's a lot more involved than just capturing screen captures in Studio One or Pro Tools or whatever. But that's the next place I think we want to go to try to give you stuff that's helpful to you. So hopefully, again, this was all helpful, and I so appreciate you guys coming on here. Let me just check these comments one more time before I log off and see if I need to answer anything. Well, thank you guys, Ed and Andy and everyone else. I appreciate it. This was great. I had a lot of fun. I think we'll definitely do this again sometime. If you guys like, let me know. If you guys want to do these on a kind of a regular basis, maybe we could do this once a month, the end of every month. We could get on and just chat, and I'll figure out a way too to be able to. I don't know if you can do it through YouTube. Where I can, we can get into Studio One or Pro Tools and actually do some demonstrations and do some examples live. I know you could do that through Ustream. I don't know if you could do that through YouTube, where the audio is going to be good. Again, I got to do a lot of the research. This is, don't make it's not seamless. Maybe I'll research doing this on Ustream, where you guys can head over there, and I know we could do it that way. But I'll try to, if we do another webcast, I'll try to do something that's, a little different than what we did this time to give you guys something else to kind of look forward to. But until next time, again, thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I appreciated it. I will talk to you guys soon. Again, hit me up online if you need anything, and we'll talk later. So until next time, see you guys later. Thanks again. Appreciate it.